AKPA, Bedtime Storytime. AKPA, Bedtime Storytime.
Hi, boys and girls, and welcome to AKPA's Bedtime Storytime. I hope you guys are all in the bed, nice and cozy, and ready to hear I Love to Help by Shelly A. Jimmy bounced around the car in excitement. "We're going to the beach," he shouted happily. "We're going to the beach." Dad laughed as he opened the trunk of the car. "That's right," he said. "It's a lovely sunny day, and we want to get going quickly. Why don't you help us carry the things we need to the car? Your brothers are helping already." Jimmy stopped bouncing and looked towards the front door of their house. Jimmy's two brothers were helping carry things to the car. The oldest brother had colorful buckets and spades in his hands, and the middle brother was carrying the picnic basket. "Come, Jimmy," Mom called from the doorway. "You can carry the bag of towels or this small beach chair. It won't be very hard." Jimmy looked at the towels and chair. "No, thank you," he said with a grin. "I'm too busy jumping." The forest where they lived was not too far from the beach, and Jimmy wiggled with excitement the whole way. When he saw the gold sands of the beach and the sparkling blue water of the sea, he started jumping in his seat. "All right, we are here," said Dad. "Let's get out and enjoy the day." Jimmy got out of the car. "This is amazing," he exclaimed and ran down towards the water. "Wait," Mom called after him. "You've got to help us to take everything out the car." Jimmy turned around, waving at his family. "No, thank you," he said. "I've got to build a giant sandcastle." He ran to a perfect spot on the beach, right next to the sea, and started to scoop sand into his hands. Jimmy was so busy having fun that he didn't notice his family going to and from the car, carrying objects down to the beach. Meanwhile, the sandcastle grew bigger and bigger. Jimmy used the buckets to build towers, made a great wall of sand joining them, and even started digging a moat around the outside to keep the castle safe. "My castle is going to be so big, a king and queen are going to want to move in," Jimmy said, imagining tiny knights and servants running around inside. While Jimmy was working on his castle, his older brothers were hunting for the biggest shell they could find. Dad went swimming in the sea, looking at the fish with his snorkel, and Mom lay on a towel further up the beach. Jimmy was so focused on his castle that he didn't really notice what the rest of his family were doing until... "Watch out!" Jimmy heard his dad shout. He looked up just in time to see a giant wave rising up beside him from the sea. "Oh no!" cried Jimmy as the wave crashed down on top of him. When the water pulled away, Jimmy lay on his back and tried to catch his breath. Yuck! Jimmy spat out salty water and pulled seaweed from behind his ears. Then he looked up to see what had happened to his castle. "No," he cried. His walls and moat had done nothing to protect it. It was completely destroyed. Jimmy felt hot tears on his face as he looked at the ruined castle. Mom knelt down beside him and gave him a hug. All his family had stopped what they were doing and gathered around him. "I'm sorry about your castle," Dad said. "Yeah, it looked really cool," said the oldest brother. "And big," agreed the middle brother. Mom smiled. "Don't worry, Jimmy. We'll help you build a new one." "You will?" Jimmy asked. Yes, his family laughed and they all set about building the sandcastle again. Something was different this time. Jimmy realized that with his family helping him, the castle was bigger and more beautiful. than before. It didn't just have towers and a moat, it had windows, doors, and walls. Some of the towers were even taller than Jimmy. By the time they were finished, it was the biggest sandcastle Jimmy had ever seen. Look, the oldest brother pointed inside. 2 crabs had settled down in the center of the castle. It even has a king and queen. Jimmy bounced up and down. This is the best sandcastle ever. When it was time to go, the family began to take things back into the car. Jimmy grinned. "May I help you?" he asked. He took the towel to the car and then ran back to help carry the buckets and spades too. "Wow, we packed that really quickly," Dad said, when they were done looking at the empty beach. Even when they came home, Jimmy continued to help, carrying the beach chairs back into the house. "I want to help out as much as I can," he told Mom. "Everything works out better when we help each other." Mom smiled. "Well, the car is empty now, except for one thing." Mom reached into the car and pulled out a packet of cookies. "I think someone needs to help eat these cookies before they go stale." Jimmy laughed. "Yes, please, I'll help." The end. Good night, boys and girls. Thanks for listening to AKPA's Bedtime Storytime. Tune in tomorrow. Bye.
AKPA, Bedtime Storytime. AKPA, Bedtime Storytime.